Am I naughty for not wanting my incestuous cousins at my wedding? I'm getting married this August and there's some controversy with my family over who's invited and who isn't. I'm not comfortable with my cousin Rod, 31M, and pregnant cousin Ireland, 17F, being at my wedding as they're in, what I think, is an inappropriate relationship. Not only is she way too young and pregnant with his baby, they are also related, their parents are siblings. I thought this would be an obvious issue but my family sees no problem with it. When my Aunt Rhonda, Rod's mother, heard that he wouldn't be invited, she freaked out. She couldn't believe that I wasn't inviting my own cousins to my wedding. When I explained why I was uncomfortable with it, Rhonda said that I was the only one in the family who thought so and that I shouldn't make such a big deal. After being confronted by the rest of my family on the matter, I have in and sent Ireland and Rod an invite. I was already unhappy with it, and to make matters worse, Ireland is insisting on wearing a white dress. I explained why her choice of outfit would be disrespectful. She argued that she should get to wear a white dress as she and Rod haven't gotten a wedding, despite her being pregnant. Now this is the only issue my fiancé has. She was fine with the age gap and being closely related thing because love is love, but Ireland wearing white is apparently too far. I honestly don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going crazy because this situation is so obviously wrong in my eyes but nobody around me thinks so. I don't want to disappoint them, but I really don't want Ireland and Rod and my wedding to mess things up. Does anyone see where I'm coming from or am I naughty and just don't realize?
If you're enjoying this so far, please like and subscribe.
Am I naughty for letting my girlfriend put my daughter in timeout? I had my daughter, 7, in high school. I went to boarding school and her mum wanted nothing to do with her, so she lived with my parents while I finished high school and college, until she was 6. My daughter was not an easy baby, so after a month my parents ended up getting her a live-in nanny. Her nanny is an older Hispanic woman and always spoke Spanish with my daughter. When my daughter moved in with me, the nanny came too. They still spoke Spanish at home, which wasn't a big deal until recently. My girlfriend moved in with us a few weeks ago. She's been trying to get to know my daughter, but my daughter refuses to interact with her, going so far as to refuse to speak English at home. I told my daughter that she was being rude and needs to speak English at home and with my girlfriend, but she pretended not to understand me. So I went to my girlfriend and told her that if my daughter speaks Spanish too, around her, she can put my daughter in timeout for 10 minutes. The nanny complained that my daughter was spending at least an hour in timeout a day and I've noticed that she hasn't been speaking at all around the house. Then I got a call from my parents asking why my daughter is asking to come back. I told them what happened and now they're threatening to take my daughter back. Am I naughty for letting my girlfriend put my daughter in timeout? Edit. Apparently she had an emergency at my parents' house, so they're going to be keeping her there for now. Am I naughty for refusing to sell my house to my sister? I, 36F, and my husband, 39M, recently moved into a new house. We were still in the process of selling our old place when we got invited to a family dinner with my husband's mother. We were talking about our new house when my sister-in-law brought up the fact that she too was buying a new place. However, when we asked her about it, she told us that she was intending to move into our old house. At first I was very open to selling her the house to her because she is expecting a child soon and was looking to move out of my mother-in-law's. But when I asked her what she was going to offer, she laughed it off and said, "We're family, can't you just give it to me?" At first I thought she was joking, but then she went on talking about how my husband and I are so well off that we don't need the money. This caught me extremely off guard, especially as my mother-in-law started agreeing with her and expressing how my sister-in-law needs to save money for the baby and how we should just give her the house. I looked over at my husband who seemed to be in disagreement but wasn't willing to speak up. When I told her we weren't willing to give it to her for free, she and my mother-in-law got very upset, which resulted in us leaving dinner early. Ever since then, my husband's sister has been messaging and calling us non-stop, calling us all sorts of names while simultaneously asking when she will be able to tour her new home. So, am I naughty? Am I naughty for wanting to leave my boyfriend for something his parents said? So, I 26F, black, and my boyfriend 32M, white, have been dating for about 5 months now and he is honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. He is the first guy who's ever made me consider marriage and starting a family. I did love him. Now to the story. Last weekend was his mum's 60th birthday and my boyfriend was gonna go to the birthday party. He thought it would be a nice occasion for him to introduce me to his family, so he asked me to join him. We let his family know that he was bringing me and they were okay with it. His parents' place is 3 hours away from the city we live in, so we decided that we were gonna spend the night. So, we arrived at his parents' place and his mum, dad, brother and sister were there. They hugged me while greeting me and I honestly thought they were genuinely happy to meet me. It didn't feel like anything was off. They all seemed like nice people. So we spent the evening talking, and there was a lot of laughter and everything was going great. At around 8 p.m., my boyfriend and his brother leave for the airport to pick up a relative of theirs who was flying in for the party. So, I'm left at the house with his mum, dad and sister. I didn't feel unsafe or anything. They had been nice to me the whole time. I had left my phone charging in the room we were gonna sleep in, so I excused myself to go check if I had any important messages or calls. There weren't any, so it didn't take long. I start heading back to the living room and as I'm walking back, I hear them talking. Then his mum asks, "So, what to think about her?" I immediately knew they were talking about me and I honestly wanted to know what my potential in-laws thought about me, so I stopped and listened. His dad says, "She's nice." His sister agrees with him and adds, "She's pretty too." Then his mum says something that immediately made me sick to my stomach. She says, "Yeah, if only she wasn't a effing N-word." And they all agreed with her. My heart dropped. I tiptoed back to the room and I sat there so confused. I was shaking so much I didn't know what to do. I wanted to call my boyfriend but I had a weird feeling, so I didn't. I felt so alone and unsafe. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone around me, not even my boyfriend. I live in Canada and people here are not as open with their racism as in other places. Which in my opinion, is much more scary. Now at that moment, the only people I could think of asking for help were my sisters. One of my sisters lives in the US and the other one is in Canada but in a different province. They both live far away, so there is nothing they could have done to help me at that moment, but I felt like they are the only people I could trust. We have a WhatsApp group chat, so I sent him a message telling him what happened. I have lived in Canada for a couple of years, but it's not easy to make trustworthy friends here. Canada is a lonely place. I have met a lot of people but I don't feel like any of them are my friends. If you are an immigrant in Canada, you probably understand what I mean. Anyway, back to the story. So my sisters were like, "You need to find a way to get out of there immediately." They tell me to make up an excuse saying I had an emergency and needed to leave. I stayed in the room for some time scared to death. It took everything in me not to start crying. After I had collected my thoughts and calmed down, I did what my sisters told me to do. I hadn't unpacked my bag yet and luckily, we brought my car cause it's fuel efficient compared to my boyfriend's. I took my bag and car keys and passed the living room in a rush saying something came up and I had to leave. I didn't give him a chance to ask any questions. I just got in my car and drove away. It was getting late and I wasn't in the right state of mind to drive back home. I just wanted to get as far away as possible before stopping at a hotel for the night. My boyfriend had called me a couple of times. I called him back but I couldn't bring myself to tell him what had happened, so I gave him the same excuse I gave his parents. He asked if he should come home as well and I told him it wasn't necessary. I went home the next day and my boyfriend showed up at my apartment a few hours later. I looked at him and it felt like all the love I had for him had just disappeared. Though I acted like everything was fine, I wondered if he was racist too. He had been so great during our whole relationship. I never once felt like he had any racist thoughts or feelings. But I can't help but think about how his family made me believe they were nice people, and I keep wondering if he's also just pretending to like me. We don't live together, but my lease is ending in July. He owns his place, so I was supposed to move in with him after my lease ended, but I have managed to get out of moving in with him. I don't feel like I love him anymore. It's been 3 days now since we got back from his parents' place and I want to end things with him without it causing any trouble, but I'm really scared. I want to tell him what happened, but I'm scared of finding out that he's racist as well. I don't know how he's going to react. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but there are so many stories of women getting unalived by their partners and I'm scared that I could end up unalived too. I guess I'm imagining the worst case scenario and I'm judging him based on his parents' actions and not his. But I am genuinely scared. Even if he isn't racist, his family is. And if we stay together, no matter how much I try to avoid his family, there are still gonna be situations where I'll have to interact with them, and I don't think I can ever move past what they said. Do you have a secret little subreddit that is a favorite? Share it in the comments and it could become the next big thing.